I, 35 male, was told by my wife, 34, that she wanted a divorce so she could qualify for government assistance. We've been together for 5 years and married for 2. We live with her 2 children, a male teen and a female preteen. She has a master's degree in education and is in good health. She quit her job roughly a year ago to pursue a career as a life coach / mindfulness instructor. She wanted to be a content creator for Instagram and TikTok. I was very against it due to our usually tight budget and the fact that she receives very little help from her children's father. I loved this woman and wanted to be a supportive husband, so I reluctantly agreed for a short time to help her try it out, with the assumption that if it wasn't working, she would go back to full-time employment. I was working at one point between 6 and 7 days a week to try and make enough for us to live. Well, it didn't take off like she thought, and after some tough conversations, she found a job as a middle school substitute teacher, as it still allows her a somewhat flexible schedule for her content creation and time to be more involved in her kids' lives, bus pickup, after-school sports. This arrangement is still not working as it pays very little, and we live in an expensive part of the Northeast. She needs a full-time, decent-paying job, like she had for the first few years of our relationship. Now to the present day. During our conversation again, I asked her to start looking for something that would better suit our needs. She tells me that she cannot work a full-time job due to her children, and it would be easier for her to divorce me on paper and receive government welfare to support the family. She could easily work full-time, and there were numerous openings for people with her degrees. I'm at a loss. I've compromised a lot already for this relationship. I loved being a husband and the whole thing that comes with it. From what I'm told, I've been a good partner, and I do my share of housework and the like. It's purely monetary, and she finds it just more convenient to divorce me, but still wants everything else to stay the same. I want to note, I'm not against assistance if it's really needed, as I know some people really do need such programs to survive. She has skills and degrees and is very intelligent, so there's no reason why she can't work. Her kid's dad pays child support, but it's a joke how much the court makes him pay. I'm totally not okay with the fraud and would never. I work very hard to get what I have. She could only technically receive about a year of alimony, but I will fight that. I would rather give it to a lawyer than her if it came down to it. Plus, I have numerous texts talking about the fraud she's proposing. I'm leaving. I've told her that I'm out in a week and have already started packing. I loved her very much, and this has been hard. Am I the idiot for leaving my wife after she requested a divorce on paper so she could qualify for government assistance? So her content creation isn't going so well that she needs to divorce and commit fraud to scrape by. And she's supposed to give people life advice? Well, her life coaching job didn't work out so well either. Wonder why? You are not the idiot. Being a teacher right now stinks, and most want to quit. It's tough because education degrees don't often transfer to other jobs, though some have managed. But she sounds like she doesn't want to work and thought marriage was her answer. So sorry, OP. Give her the divorce, but disappear and let her figure out her own mess. Wow, she's a CEO on welfare. The best case scenario is that you'll be helping her commit fraud. The worst case is that she's using this as a pretext to get an amicable divorce for some other reason, while still hoping you continue to do everything you do now. Her fraud will continue year after year, as she has to portray herself as a single mom doing it on her own, while you're there helping her out in secret. Bingo. Your wife is delusional and selfish. Committing fraud isn't going to help the situation, and frankly, she needs a reality check. She's just using you for your resources. You're providing for her and her kids. Why punish yourself and take care of them? She can go after the children's father. Divorce and move on. She would have been gone as soon as her life coach and influencer career took off. Can we also acknowledge just how delusionally self-confident OP's wife is? She quit her well-paying job because she was so sure she would make it big on Instagram as a life coach. This is bordering on narcissism levels of grandiosity. I 100% believe people should pursue their dreams, but don't quit your job and make your husband work 7 days a week. That's insane and unbelievably entitled. Her entitlement is also evident in the fact that she seems to think the state is just going to shower her with assistance as soon as she gets divorced. That is not how it works. It can take years. People who actually need assistance wait years for that crap. It's horrifying what social media has done to humanity. My husband has a habit of never telling me when he's expecting guests. To be blunt, I'm tired of it. We have an infant, and there have been at least 15 occasions now where he's invited his mother or sister over and just not told me, starting from 4 days postpartum. They both live 3 hours away. Well, my mother-in-law showed up here on Saturday, and I just laid down with our daughter to take a nap maybe 20 minutes prior. Like I literally just fell asleep with my breast out because I breastfeed when my mother-in-law and husband walked into the bedroom. I wake up to my husband pulling my shirt back into a decent position and him saying, "Hey, Mom's here to see us." I say, "Well, I just got the baby down for a nap, so we aren't available." He kind of whispers to me and says, "Babe, she just traveled 3 hours to see us. You can take a nap after she leaves." I've had the same repeated conversation with this man about my thoughts on guests when I wasn't informed beforehand. And due to this, I got incredibly angry and told him to get out of the room now. My mother-in-law says something to the effect of, "Come on, up you go. I didn't travel down here for nothing," and starts pulling the blanket off of me. So I snapped and said, "Yes, you did travel down here for nothing, because my daughter and I will not get out of bed for an unannounced guest. Get out now." My husband just looked embarrassed and told his mom, "Let's go," and pulled her out of the room as she complained about respect. I heard the front door slam, and I went back to sleep. I woke up an hour and a half later, and my husband was sitting at the kitchen island with an angry look. As soon as he saw me, he unleashed, said he couldn't believe I would embarrass him like that, and it wasn't like it would have killed me to get my butt out of bed for 30 minutes so his mother could see me and the baby. I once again told him that I'm not open to guests unless he loops me in. I'm done not being told what's happening and feeling like I'm in the dark in my own home. Now he swears up and down that he did tell me when I know for an absolute fact that he did not. He's trying to play the "she traveled 3 hours for nothing" card, but I truly don't care. I was tired and I needed sleep. Visiting with an unannounced, to me, guest was not on my priority list. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Not only have you told him to inform you of guests coming, but he also brought his mother into your bedroom to wake you up. For me, that's crossing the line and invading your personal space even more. What baffles me is that after he knows his mother is headed to your home, he has literally 3 hours to inform you that she's on her way. Holy smokes. Right? What was he doing for 3 hours before she came? Why does OP have to entertain his mother too? Why didn't your husband and his mother hang out until you and the baby were done napping? If she drove 3 hours, I'd assume she stuck around for a bit and could wait. He's a crappy dude who doesn't take his wife's feelings, wishes, or boundaries into consideration. He knew if he told her about this, he'd get in trouble for not respecting her. So instead, he waited until she could no longer protest. I imagine the red flags have been waving in this relationship for a very long time. Yeah, it's almost like the son is conditioned to his mom's forced invasiveness. Like she hasn't only gotten him to accept it, she's gotten him to enforce it on her behalf. Concerning. OP, maybe your mother-in-law will coordinate with you in the future if she plans on making a 3-hour trip to see the baby. And if she can't figure out how to text someone at this point, she may need to go into hospice for seniors for her own safety. It's easy, and even the cheapest phones do it. My coworker is pregnant with her first baby, and she asked me yesterday about my thoughts on her baby's name. Things didn't go well. We work at a hotel that doesn't get much traffic, so there's always a lot of downtime to sit and chat. We're not friends, but since we're both girls in the same age, 23, we do speak a lot when we're on the same shift together. She asked me if I'd heard of the name Venus, and I said yes. She said she was going to name her daughter that, but added on an A at the end, so it was Venessa. She said it sounds so exotic and unique sounding, right? I said, no, it sounds like the already existing name, Vanessa. She got upset and said, no, it doesn't. She asked her boyfriend and her parents, who said it was a name they'd never heard of before. I said, it sounds like Vanessa, and it's kind of a dumb name to give someone, since every time they say it aloud, people will call them Vanessa, and it'll always be misspelled. She started to cry and said, great, people are already insulting my parenting choices, and that I was being a witch, and left the shift early. Now our other coworkers have been messaging me, saying I'm disgusting for making a pregnant woman cry. Am I the idiot? I was being honest since she asked me. You're right that it does sound like Vanessa, and I agree it's a dumb name. On the other hand, when someone you aren't close with tells you their baby's name, you just say, oh, that's nice, no matter how bad it is. That's just common sense. I think everyone's the idiot here. Hey, I'm going to name my kid Adolf Hitler. Oh, that's nice. She asked for an opinion, got one, and literally ran away crying. Pregnancy hormones, I hope, but if it's not, it's a childish idiot who shouldn't be a parent. Grow the heck up. And she was at work? You better get some thicker skin, hun. It's going to be a lot harder than that as a mom, especially if you give your kid that stupid name. Venessa is hard to say, or the kid will be called Venusa by y'all little meanies, teachers, etc. Just sounding it out. Vanessa is such a pretty name. A new mother should be happy to have this pointed out now, instead of when Venusa is 6 months old. If she didn't want your opinion, she shouldn't have asked for it. I don't care. People need to stop setting their kids up for failure with these stupid names. Correcting other people for a lifelong is tiring. My boyfriend Callum and I have been together for 8 months, and over this long weekend, I figured it would be a good time for him to meet my dad. He's met my mom and stepdad a couple of times, but always at restaurants or my place. For this meeting with my dad, we went over to his place for lunch. Looking back on it, Callum was immediately uptight when he saw where my dad lives, but I thought it was just nerves. He was acting pretty strange throughout lunch and was very cagey about any questions my dad or his wife asked. But again, I chalked it up to nerves. Well, when we were driving back, he blew up, not yelling or anything, just clearly frustrated that I never told him my dad was rich. I was confused and asked why he'd need to know my dad's income, and I'd sent him in there blind because you're meant to warn your partner of potential pitfalls when they meet your parents. I was still confused about how my dad's tax bracket was a potential pitfall. I could see warning him if my dad was incredibly snobbish about dress sense or manners, but he isn't. Callum then asked if I'd also hidden that my mom and stepdad were rich, which I admitted I guess I did, although I take issue with him calling it hiding something. It's just not relevant. Callum hasn't let it go and is now digging into irrelevant stuff, such as my previous vacations, living situation, and job, apparently so he can figure out my lifestyle. I think he's totally lost the plot, but up until now he's been a really sweet, unassuming, chill person, so I'm wondering if I'm really the problem. To clarify, my parents aren't rich like what you think of when you think of rich. Both my dad and stepdad have been successful and been able to give themselves and their kids nice lives, but we aren't the Waltons, and even if we were, is this a thing you warn people about? Am I the idiot for not telling my boyfriend that my dad and family's rich? Going with no idiots here, this is less about your dad being rich and more about his worry about your expectations of how much money your partner should be making. If his prospects don't include a country club lifestyle that you're accustomed to, he'll be worried that you'll become upset. You two should sit down and talk this out a bit. Yeah, I can understand his side of feeling ill-prepared. He only has one shot to make a first impression, and feeling underdressed or just ill-prepared is a nightmare. He may be wondering, too, if you aren't about to flip the script on him at some point and want to take vacations to Europe or Maui or need a $50K ring, etc., which is why he's digging. I come from a wealthy family, which has impacted my life even if I'm not wealthy. You may not find your dad snobbish, but since leaving the family home, going to school, and just generally being an adult in the world for over a decade now, I can recognize that what I thought was normal growing up can be very jarring to people who didn't have my upbringing. It doesn't feel relevant to you, but it'll be relevant to many people around you. No idiots here, but you're being naive. My 27 female, boyfriend 36 of a year, was married in his early 20s and has 2 kids with his ex. He has 3 family pictures in his house that have her in the pictures. In one, it's her with the kids in the middle of the 2 of them. In another, it's him with the kids and her off to the right, sort of in the background. In a third, it's him and her together, along with the 2 kids and Mickey Mouse, Disney. She has been awful to me, and I hate seeing her face. I've asked him to take the pictures down several times, but he says there's special memories with the kids. Well, yesterday, I had enough. I used the scanning app on my phone to scan the photos, then paid someone on Fiverr to remove her from the photos. All 3 of the photos look professionally done. They're the same photos, just without her. I went to Walmart and then had them print new pictures, the same size. I put them in the frames. I put the originals in the desk drawer. When my boyfriend came home, I asked him if he noticed anything different. He didn't, which is what I suspected. The photos look great now, and we still have him and his kids. I pointed at one of the pictures. He got livid, telling me I was being a jealous Nancy. I admit that I laughed because what is a jealous Nancy? Well, the laughing really set him off. He asked for the originals back and said he was going to put them back up. He then gave me an ultimatum to either accept his past relationship or move on. I said, I guess you don't want to be with a jealous Nancy. And he said no. I laughed again and he asked me to leave. I have not heard from him since, but I expect him to get over it. Really, this woman has been terrible to me. I'm not going to get started on it, but she's been cruel to me to the point of him breaking contact with her, except by text to talk about the kids. I have every right to not want to see her face. One of the pictures is in his bedroom even. Maybe I should just get over it. I felt like I was doing him a favor because at least I didn't just cut her out, which was my original plan. Am I the idiot? Edit. Much to the ex's chagrin, I have a great relationship with his children. I was not the other woman in the relationship. They were divorced long before I met him. There was infidelity in their relationship. She cheated with 2 men that we know of. That's why they divorced. I laughed again, and he asked me to leave. I'm dead. OP is so clueless. Yep, done and dusted. OP, he's over it. It sounds like he realized he's not dealing with a fellow grown-up. Your lack of self-awareness about any of this proves his point. You are the idiot. That is actually unhinged. Get some help, girl. The fact that she openly admits to considering cutting up his family pictures is utterly crazy pants. And the fact that she thinks she was somehow doing him a favor by only erasing his ex-wife from their family pictures, so much horrifying yikes. I know OP is relatively young, but 27 is still way too old to think that any of this behavior is anything short of irrational and deeply problematic. She needs therapy and not to be anywhere near vulnerable children, frankly, if these are her instincts. Also, I love the, really? This woman has been terrible to me. I'm not going to get started on it, but she's been cruel to me. In a nice long post that details all the steps of scanning the pictures, photoshopping his ex out, going to Walmart to print them, and putting them in the frames. She can't give one example of something horrible this woman has done to her? And did she ever consider maybe the children like having the pictures of their mom and those memories in the home when they visit dad? LOL, other people have feelings too, OP.